Well, hello there, friends and lovers, and thank you for joining us. We're back, and this is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
Hi.
We've been gone so long. Well, 2 weeks. That's a long time.
Yeah, it has been.
I was under the weather, and then I recovered. Then we went to a conference. That show, incidentally, got a lot of views. Thank you very much for that. Live from Cali. We're going to talk about live from California. And then we got back, and then, Amy, you got hit.
I got sick. I got the Tamiflu.
The stomach bug of some kind. Who knows? You never know.
I was like that one girl in the movie Poltergeist. It was great. It was perfect for Halloween.
It was not quite that bad, but it was bad. So we didn't get to see y'all last Sunday. We had to skip a week. Thank you for being there. I see y'all in the chat on the YouTubes. Not on Facebook yet, but I know we will be joined there too. Jim Fukuoka. Is that one of the Jims that we know with a different last name? I don't know. Or is that a new Jim? Anyway, good to see you in the chat. And Paul is here as well. Good to see Matthew. And our usuals, our good friends are showing up. Let me pop out that chat window. It'll make it easier for me to keep an eye on what's going on. DWN. Logic is in the chat as well. Good to see you. I thank you for asking about that on Twitter. Yes, we are live. And Jennifer is here as well. We missed you last night. Why did we miss Jennifer last night? Last night was... Glow, Great Lakes Subjectivist. Yes, we got together with Glow and did our Thanksgiving edition of Great Lakes Subjectivist. That was super fun.
Yeah, and I need to call you, Jennifer, and we can catch up.
Yes, absolutely. So today is Sunday, November 9th, which makes yesterday the second Saturday of the month. It still seems way too early for Glow. It's usually more middle of the month, but sometimes the second Saturday works out that way. Turkey dinner and all of that. Today is, I'm going to keep getting distracted by that because it was such a good night. Today is Sunday, November 9th, 2025, the 313th. We're getting up there. 313th day of this. Your best year yet. I know some of you feel like maybe this is not the best year yet, and maybe it's not, but you have got 52 days left to turn it around, to make that happen. We've been doing it. We went to California, and oh my God, did we have a good time. Christmas is in 46 days, and Thanksgiving in the United States, because, different countries have different things to be thankful for. In the U.S., Thanksgiving is in 18 days. If you weren't here in Studio Nasir having turkey last night, then you've got 18 days to get a turkey together and celebrate your Thanksgiving. And it's good to see Bonnie is in the chat too, here last night, and it was so good to see you.
Oh my gosh, Bonnie.
It was a good night. Good night. Although we had a few call-outs, so we had, what did we have? 22 pounds of turkey, and there are some leftovers. Less than you might think. Well, we had a 17-pound turkey and then a 5-pound turkey breast. It was really fun. But let me jump on this date, get through that real quick, and then tie together a few things that I've been thinking about this week. Because, well, we've been away for 2 weeks from you, getting through The Exorcist Part 2, and, the stomach bug. But also the Irreplaceable Spark Conference. We told you on our last show live from the conference how good it was, but we haven't really done a post-conference wrap. For now, I'll just say it was really good. Rosie Ginsburg, the man behind the Ayn Rand Center UK, put together a very good conference. And part of what made it so good was just he had some of the best people you'd want at a conference.
Yeah, like his wife, Ella, who did a lot of stuff.
Ella, who was always super sweet.
And of course, Daniel,
without whom could anything possibly happen? Absolutely.
Nothing could happen without Daniel.
Right.
And many others there. And Bonnie was volunteering, actually, so she helped out.
Bonnie was super important behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. And so many good, I don't know, did we have a favorite talk? We were kind of, Inger Mason, I got to look up his last name. Anders gave a great talk.
Yes. Oh, I think his was more memorable for me. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there were, but all of them, really. Even some of the talks I didn't think I would be that interested in. There were talks on finance, and people like Mark Shoup did a great job taking issues like that you would think, well, if you're not that into finance, I mean, I've got finance issues, but I've got them all worked out, and so I don't really need to hear talks about. No, he was good. good stuff. So if you missed the Irreplaceable Spark Conference, well, they're selling tickets for next year. In fact, if you buy them this week, there's a discount. Go to aynrandcenter.co.uk or just objectivism.co.uk and look at what the rates are and for how long that discount is going on, and think about attending next year.
Yeah, you might be able to gain access to the videos for a certain amount of money.
Well, you have to be a member of the Ayn Rand Center UK, and not just a member, but a member at the silver level, the $50 a month level, or is that the Midas level? But it's going to be good. This time it's going to be in Austin, Texas. Same time of the year, though, so you got plenty of time to plan. And you might think, well, why would I pay for tickets in 2025 for something that's not happening until next October? And the answer is, well, there's two answers. The first answer is you get a big discount. And it allows them, the reason they give a big discount is because they can plan. And they know whether they're going to have 25 or 250 people there. And the other advantage is that if you put down the money, it's on your calendar. You're done. You've already taken care of that issue, and you got something to look forward to. We do that with Ocon. Big discount if you buy your tickets right away. We buy our tickets right away. And you're like, yeah, but now you got a couple $1,000 just, or whatever the price ends up being, that you put out, and nothing's going to happen for a year. And I'm like, no, that money paid for anticipation. And it's kind of nice when the conference comes up and you're like, I'm not going to pay for this. I already did that. So lots of good reasons to sign up for next year's Irreplaceable Spark Conference. But thank you to those of you who watched our video live from there. Got a lot of views, more than our usual videos. Part of it, I'm sure, is because we were interviewing Linda Cordair of Quaint Cordair Fine Art, CORDAIR.com. And Linda's always somebody who raises our view counts because she raises our enthusiasm.
Yes, she raises our spirits, what she does.
Yes. And that is the function of art. Actually, we talked last night about the function of art, didn't we?
We did.
At Great Lakes Objectivists, we talked about Ayn Rand's essay, The Goal of My Writing.
Yes, found here.
Right in there, in her book, The Romantic Manifesto. No, not the Communist Manifesto, or even the Capitalist Manifesto. The Romantic Manifesto, Ayn Rand's theory of art.
It's a great little, it's only 11 pages long, or less. The Goal of My Writing, that's the second to last essay in the book. And it's really lovely. And it's really lovely. It's really good. But yeah, so at the Irreplaceable Spark, it was Michael Sweet, not Mike Shoup, who did a talk.
Well, Michael Sweet talked about being a pastry chef.
Yes, and there were some others like Darius and Ben, who talked about finance, and Michael Kaufman is the maybe, I don't know.
He was talking about medical breakthroughs. I might be confusing somebody else. With one of the other speakers on finance.
So, but so there's Alex Epstein. He's always like, he is as smooth as butter. Alex Epstein.
I actually mentioned this online. If you are not a $50 a month member of the Ayn Rand Center UK, in other words, if you can't watch the videos from the conference that are available to those higher level donors, find Alex Epstein's previous talk. The link is in the last show we did. But you could look it up. Just look for a talk by Alex Epstein. Rhymes with Einstein. That's how you can remember how to say his name. And the name of the talk was How to Leverage Objectivism to Become a Leader in Your Field. Find that lecture, and it's essentially the lecture that he gave at Irreplaceable Spark, but by a younger guy with less experience. In other words, he gave a much more polished version of that old talk. I don't know if he intentionally did that, but that's essentially what it was.
Yeah.
Both talks are great. The newer one is even better.
Yes.
With, more recent examples of his achievements and how you can achieve those kind of results. But they're both good and well worth listening to.
Yes. And Mark Pellegrini was there. It was wonderful. He had a cold at the time, but he delivered a wonderful talk. Basically about how to overcome odds and how to overcome being canceled in Hollywood. And it was really fascinating. Jonathan Honig was there, and he regaled us with some very, very cool old footage of himself as a teenager and as a young adult, and all the things that he's been through with regard to working with the media and getting the message out. Jim Brown was there, and he talked about his life and as a pilot and all sorts of things. And he also sold his book on money creation and its consequences, or a black hole in economics, money creation and its consequences. Catherine Dickerson was there, basically talking about active listening. Michael Kaufman about medical breakthroughs.
If you can pause for just a second there before you go on with the talks.
Yeah.
Because I've got to get to the chat here. Jason Adams is in the chat. He was at the conference. And Bonnie asks, didn't he win jiu-jitsu with Mark Pellegrino?
He did.
There was an auction, and the auction included art, but also events, experiences. And Mark Pellegrino put up for auction 2 experiences. One day with him on a movie set. I know Jason a bit on that, but he didn't actually win that one. He got outbid, but then he won the bid for go to jiu-jitsu practice with Mark Pellegrino. And very, very, he's Mike Sweet. Yeah, Michael Sweet won the auction for the day at the movie set.
Yeah.
Jason says in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very cool. And one thing that you won't find on the official pages as you recap the great speakers that were there, Jason says, I can't believe we forgot to sing Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark at the karaoke at the conference. Karaoke was not an official event, but it became essentially that when when they let me connect my iPad up to the PA system,
big screen with
and host a karaoke session. Jason was one of the stars, one of the singers.
Chandler was there, Jax, Audrey,
James Valiant.
James Valiant sang a Queen song.
Yes, Don't Stop Me Now. And we didn't stop him then.
No, we didn't stop him.
It was so cool.
But yeah, shout out to the AV guy who was working that night, who decided to stay late.
Yes. So, and pro AV guys. So, normally we would have an in with Daniel there, but fortunately the AV guys were equally willing to let us hook our stuff up to their stuff.
It was cool. And Ella, and also Jennifer Minarez, Jennifer Miguel, not Minarez. I'm so sorry, Jennifer Miguel.
Sorry, Jim Ashley on the Facebook side of things says, I don't know how Jim Fukuoka snuck in there. I think he's Yakuza or something. I don't know what either of those words mean, but
that's Jim Ashley.
Jim is always doing something crafty, so I'm sure he knows what he's saying, even if I don't.
Yeah, and so going on, so we had Michael Sweet talking about his business as an entrepreneur, and his
he runs a bakery and a cookie shop. Yeah,
and Linda Cordier gave us the very inspirational talk about her. Her and her husband Quent wrote a letter and basically said, no, we're not actually closing down. We are an essential service, and
during COVID.
We're during COVID, and
they
and we're
opened
going to
back
stay
up
open
when no one was allowed to.
Yeah, and all of the sleepless nights and all the trials that they went through, only to win out in the end. There's more to that story. It's really a great story, and Linda is always amazing. And I just really, as a quick aside, we got to kidnap her and take her to the ocean. That's true. We did that. We were at a beach on that Friday, and she's like, I'm so jealous. I wish I was there. And I'm like, I'm gonna go pick you up now. And
she was like, you can't pick me up. I've got to get ready for my talk. And Amy's like, no, you're coming to the beach. And
like, you've got enough time to do this.
And we took her to the beach. Yeah, that was very cool.
And then, of course, now James Valiant didn't actually do a talk. But he was around and everything.
Yeah, he was
like
there
that.
for the coaching sessions and some of the VIP stuff, which we didn't have the ticket for. Folks, if you go and you can't afford the VIP tickets, we didn't have the VIP tickets either. So there were a couple experiences we missed out on. I won't say you didn't miss much, but the point is well worth going even without that extra ticket.
Yeah, and Anders Ingemarsson. Ingemarsson?
I got that right. I just said it wrong. Yes.
So he wrote a book called Think Right or Wrong, Not Left or Right, a 21st Century Citizen Guide. And it wasn't about that, though. It was about basically how to have a benevolent sense of life, he talked on. And he was so good. I can't believe we've never actually met him.
Who else in Objectivism talks about positivity? about focusing on values and not focusing so much on disvalues.
Yeah,
about
Yaron Brook
curating your
sometimes
experiences.
Sometimes does that, but I mean,
lots of people do, but he was
so good. And he was
focused.
So funny. He had such a great sense of humor and very entertaining speaker.
Yeah, his presentation style matched his subject matter.
Chef's kiss. And so, so now we know him and he knows us, and it's a kindred spirit story. And then Darius got, how do you say, Gagne?
Gagne.
Yeah, Gagne. Okay,
I assume
he's a very nice guy.
Yeah,
really,
good talk.
Really sharp about being a financial advisor.
Chandler points out Anders had props too. Well, not props, but examples.
Yeah.
Actually, there were a lot of folks had good visual aids. Some folks used the projector, the screen. Some folks were just animated enough. The presentations were really good.
Yes, they were quite good. And then Bindan, he talked about, I think, investing, I believe.
He gave a great example that I would not have thought of. He examined the real estate market and what happened in 2007, 2008, the big bubble, the big crash, and related that to managing your own finances rationally. That if you were rational and you looked at the way the mortgage markets were being run and these high-risk loans, and you could see that there was essentially money from nothing and all sorts of reasons to assume in advance that it couldn't sustain and it couldn't just take a slow dip down. It had to crash. And, somewhat ominously, he made comparisons to the market right now. Some of you may know that, for example, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is at outrageous highs. Probably going to be a correction, and a very serious one, soon. And while he didn't say, well, get out of the market or anything. He just said, whatever you're doing, be prepared for that. And I won't try to recap the whole talk because I didn't. I did take notes, but I don't have the notes with me. So point is, great talk. Very good talk. And
I mentioned earlier, Jennifer Miguel, she's a creator of the YouTube channel Millennial Rand Fan. And
she was not a speaker, but she was a host.
Yeah, so she was the host.
Introducing people.
She did a fine job, and it was nice to kind of get to know her. And like I said, she sang karaoke with us. I did some harmonizing with her and Ella. Yes. It was good.
Pastry and AI. Yes, they were featured at the conference. Quite substantially.
Yes.
One of the speakers was very much encouraging that AI is out there. You should be taking advantage of it. Whatever you think of it, whatever you think of the future of AI, what it's going to mean for, property rights or individual rights or the end of the world. If it's happening out there, you should be taking advantage. I have mixed feelings about that, but I really appreciated the presentation. So, didn't mean to do a big recap there, but we're going to kind of connect that to the other things going on now that we are back in the world, back in existence, back at it.
And I do have a lot to say with regard to the other things that happened during that time that we were there. So I'll leave that. I had a very, very happy spiritual experience, I will say, and I will talk about that later. So keep on the chat.
So back to the start. Today is November 9th, 1989. No, that's actually when the wall came down. East Germany opens the Berlin Wall on November 9th, 1989. I've talked about it before. I'm not going to get much into it, but it relates to current events, including the fact that we just elected a democratic socialist, whatever that is. Well, that's an offshoot of the Democratic Party, a democratic socialist as mayor of New York City. Now, we've had Democrat mayors of New York City. We've had Democrat mayors of large cities across the United States for ages. Why is that so ominous? Well, the democratic socialist aspect, adding that explicit socialism in, is that really any different? Haven't Democrats always been socialists? Or at least we've been saying, those of us in the objectivist community, for example, have been saying they're all socialists. What's the difference? Well, he wants government-run grocery stores. No, not all of them, just 6 of them, but still, that's a foot in the door, right?
Yeah, and also child services for everybody.
He wants free child services, pre-K services.
Yeah.
Where's that money going to come from? Well, he wants
knows?
to tax high-income earners.
Yeah, free tickets on the bus and transit and subways.
Free rapid transit.
Yeah, and gosh, what other free things did he want to make? Free cake pops for everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's also made statements in favor of, although not explicitly or rather not as much as others have, about defunding the police. Very critical of the police. In fact, since he was elected, I've been seeing news stories about the rates of police either quitting or not signing up to join the forces have dramatically dropped. And I thought, wait a minute. That was 5 days ago. How representative, how big a change could there be in 5 days? But still, it's not good if you have a mayor of a city who is negative on the police. I totally get that. I'm not letting Mamdani off the hook. But, the other thing is he's a Muslim. And he has been critical of the Middle East conflict of Israel. And to some folks, that all adds up to the end of New York City. I think that's overstating it. And I think that if you consider what other cities have been through, it's bad. So it could be really, really bad if he not just succeeds in some of his plans, but if, something people have considered recently, if he gets reelected, if he ends up being a long-term mayor of New York City. I don't think they have term limits, do they? So, the city of Detroit, Michigan, for example, which I happen to know, we are broadcasting live from Motown, after all, just outside the city. Yeah, it was hurt really bad by having a corrupt Democrat mayor. And I say it in that order because he was far more corrupt than he was Democrat. But in his case, the two worked together, as some of you would say they always do. Could be bad over enough time. But I am not ready to mourn New York City yet. I think we're a long, long way from that. And when I look at new construction in New York City over the last few years, it's amazing to me, actually, the city's doing as well as it is. And it's doing very well. So I'm not ready to mourn the city yet. It's also the birthday of Hedy Lamarr. We love Hedy Lamarr. No, not for being a great Hollywood actress. She was also the co-inventor of radio guidance for Allied torpedoes. In fact, it was a system of spread spectrum frequency use that some folks say is exactly what was adopted in expanding Wi-Fi. People like to say Hedy Lamarr invented Wi-Fi. Well, no, but amazing actress, amazing inventor, and it is her birth date in 1914. It's also World Freedom Day. Well, World Freedom Day is the day. They chose the day in which East and West Germany were united. The wall came down. Here, from the article I was reading earlier, a wall was created to prevent the immigration of people from East Berlin to West Berlin and the rest of Western Europe. You notice in communist countries, nobody tries to prevent people from coming in. No, they try to stop their own people from leaving. Britain had something, still has what they call the brain drain, especially for a while. All the really smart people in Great Britain, they came to the United States. They came wherever there was more freedom. In other words, where they could do more with their ideas, with their brains, with their intelligence, and make substantially more money. They went to where the freedom was. And when the wall came down on this date in 1989, people could now leave East Germany and come to, well, West Germany, really the rest of the world. I don't think people fully appreciate that, other than y'all, because you've heard us talk about this. Being in a country where, no, it's not just we won't allow people in, as our current immigration policy would suggest, they don't allow people out. You can't leave. Ayn Rand was told when she left Soviet Russia to come to the United States, and she gave this line to a character in her book, We the Living. When you get to America, tell them that the Soviet Union is a prison and we are all dying slowly. Look, I'm not happy that Mamdani was elected mayor. I'm not happy that Donald Trump is president. I'm not happy about a lot of things going on politically, and we're going to talk about some of them, but the United States is not a prison, and we are all dying slowly. The United States actually won't stop you from leaving. Maybe some question about you coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So happy World Freedom Day, everybody, which we do celebrate on November 9th, the day in which the wall came down.
Yes.
Now, you may think, I don't know, Robert's talking a lot about Mamdani. He's talking a lot about politics, more than they usually do. Well, in my segment, Robert and Amy Take on the News, I'm not going to talk about the news. I'm going to talk about the talker about the news, Yaron Brook. Because Yaron Brook did a show yesterday in which he got really fired up.
Yeah, he did.
He was like telling his listeners, you've got to do more. You've got to speak out. And any of you who are up for it, start a podcast or start writing, start a Substack. We have got to be more active, and we got to support organizations like the Ayn Rand Institute, and we have got to do more. Do more.
Yep. Already got that memo, Yaron.
Now, for those of you who are not regular listeners of the Yaron Brook show, it was unusual. Yaron has prided himself, especially this year, as he's really gotten into the groove on this, of providing his take on the news. And he has said several times so that you, the listener, all of us out there, can just go out and live our lives and not spend all of our time glued to a screen, whether that's Fox News or CNN or Google News or whoever your favorite news pundit is. No, Yaron gives us a reasonable and objective update on the news every day that he's able to podcast. He's traveling a lot right now, so not every day, but when he is actually at home and not traveling, it's generally 5 days a week. He tells you everything you need to know. Now, it's an exaggeration, and you'll review the news sources you like, but point is, yeah, you shouldn't be upset about the news every day. You should be living your life. You should be focused on your values. You should be doing the best you can to apply, say, philosophy to your life. Make things happen, your career, your family, romance in your life. But no, yesterday he was quite fan. I totally get it, and I'm not criticizing, but he was really fired up about, we got to get our asses out there and do more.
Yes.
Like, holy smoke. And I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely need to make our there was a part last night, Bonnie, you'll remember this, when we were going over the goal of my writing, and at our GLOW meeting in our home, and so there was a moment there where I kind of had a revelation there, where we're talking about, what can you do, and this will get into what Robert's going to be saying, but there's power in objectivism. There's really there's substantial power in objectivism, and you can see Alex Epstein use it. The kind of approach that is very unique to what we do, and what Ayn Rand said, and how Leonard Peikoff approached things, and all of this. But even more so, there's untapped power in objectivism, I'll say. And one of the examples that I gave at our meeting last night to Bonnie was, there's power in complimenting people who are doing a very good job and actually explaining to them the virtue that you see in them, and what that virtue is, and what it means, and how that actually relates to a new kind of ethical code called rational egoism. All of this. So, I mean, there's ways to spread our ideas in a way, in an approach, not just in terms of you're right, or not you're right, I'm sorry, I'm right, you're wrong. And there's a way to spread our ideas positively, and we'll get into that in just a bit with Robert.
Well, a couple updates from the chat real quick. Steve O 4212 says, So Darius Gagne, I think. That would make more sense. I'm sorry, Darius, for saying Gagne, which is how it's spelled, but no, that's not cool.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Very good. Bonnie says, didn't Michael Sweet have the winning bid for dinner with Dr. Peikoff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned that Mark Pellegrino had put into the auction experiences, spending time with him. Well, Dr. Peikoff did the same thing. And yes, the winning bid for that was, I don't remember how many thousands of dollars, but yeah, Michael Sweet will be having dinner with Leonard Peikoff. And what's fun about that, those of you who know Leonard Peikoff retired from philosophy, from being a philosophy speaker 10 years ago. And in his social life, he will meet people who are, fans or admirers, and they will often want to talk philosophy. And he has told people, and the stories are out there, he's just not that interested in getting into epistemology and, teasing out complex philosophical issues. He's retired from that. But yeah, in this dinner that he auctioned off, he told James Valiant, and they set it up, where the proviso was not there. He said explicitly, you can have dinner with me, and a chef, a fancy dinner at the house, and you can talk about anything you want.
Anything.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
That was pretty cool. And so you are right about that, Bonnie. That was Michael Sweet, the winning bid for dinner with Dr. Peikoff. And I guess if you got a few $1,000s in spare cash, what better way could you spend it?
And I was looking at the Spark Conference website and running down all the list of speakers. I forgot to mention that Leonard Peikoff was there speaking about ragtime.
Ragtime music. That's right. Not philosophy, ragtime music.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was fun.
And he was joined by John Lewis, good
Al
friend
Lewis. Al Lewis. Now I'm going to get the name wrong too.
No, wait. Did I say that right? No,
it's A. Lewis. Why do I forget Andrew Lewis's first name? That is so weird. Anyway, Andrew Lewis was there with Dr. Peikoff and running the music and doing.
I'm glad there's two of us so we can kind of correct each other.
So we can both get it wrong. Yeah. Well, that's good. Ian Gilmore corrects me. Democratic socialism isn't related to the Democrat Party. You're right. That is a separate thing, not an offshoot. Yeah. Thank you for the correction on that.
Yes.
Bernie was a mayor of a much smaller city. Yes, that's right. So you're right about, but, again, we had Coleman Young in Detroit. We know what a bad mayor can do. So I don't mean to minimize that.
Yeah, hopefully New York City will not go the way of Detroit. If they do, 25 years later, they might have a resurgence. Yeah. Isn't that great?
And I think Matthew Humphreys is right. Mamdani cannot possibly make good on everything he seems to be promising. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, enough of his voters will wake up and turn away next time. At least as far as the I was going to say the good things, but the things that his voters think are good, he can't do all of what he is promising he will do. Kind of like our president, who is doing an awful lot, but as far as the good things he says he'll do, well, we ain't seen that yet. Yes. Cern Enric.
Oh, that's Enric.
That is Enric.
That is Enric.
Oh, okay. Cern Enric says, yes, Yaron was very good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too, but I was surprised. Very surprised that he jumped from his usual, Yaron's rules for life and live your best life you can to get off your asses and do something about this. We've now got Trump in the White House, Mamdani as mayor of New York. Maybe it's time to worry or at least do something. And
get off your ass and show some balls.
Get off your ass, yeah.
Quoting
as the song
great
goes.
Band Fear.
Yes. Climbing up the. Well, anyway, yes.
Roberts.
Steve-O says, did you guys understand Peikoff's demonstration of using his hands to play along with the ragtime music? I did. And what might not have been obvious, Leonard Peikoff's piano player.
Yes.
He had actually started a trio with Andrew Lewis and was a jazz piano player. And I don't know if his visualization or the experience he tried to share with us works as well if you're not a piano player.
Yeah.
When he talked about the left hand rhythm and the right hand melody, and when you listen to this music, imagine yourself playing that. In fact, he didn't actually do the left hand the way that Winifred Atwell did.
No,
So I was kind of surprised.
He was saying, well, you kind of do this with your pinky and your thumb, but just think, musically, think of it as if you're seeing any band, whether it's rock band or jazz band or whatever, you've got the bass player sometimes going boom, 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 on the bass or whatever. And so it's a rhythmical thing, and it's harmonious, or there's usually harmony to it. And then you've got the right hand as the trumpet player, or whoever it is, like the sharper instrument. That's how I see it. In terms of the left hand on the piano not being as busy necessarily as the right hand.
Oh, that's one way of looking at it. It's certainly not as fast. But the left hand is, both the bass and the harmony. Bass chord, bass chord, bass chord.
Yeah. And
the right hand is melody. But,
yes.
That varies. It's pretty consistent in ragtime music that it is that way, but it varies.
Yeah,
in any event, I thought it was fun. Yeah. I know some people kind of didn't get it, and some people kind of played along lackluster.
Half-hearted.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. It was. I kind of wished he could have said, and if you feel the need to get up and dance, please do.
That would have been
I could have done that.
Jennifer says it's like air drumming to Rush. It is, actually. Yeah. It was exactly like that. Or playing air guitar when your favorite guitarist is doing a solo or something. It was just a way to connect more with the music, and maybe by doing that, hearing it in a fresh way, in a kind of exciting way. It was good.
Ian asks, will most people get the upright bass motions? Think of everyone usually has already seen the Charlie Brown Christmas special, and you can see them all on stage, and you see the one guy, and Pig Pen is playing the bass. That's the idea.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a visceral experience for non-bass players. Amy, you're a bass player, so although you've never played an upright bass, but we do have a fretless bass, and that's similar. Anyway, yes, it was fun, and I get it. While some people got more out of it than others, but isn't that always true about a talk at a conference? It was good. It was good. So Yaron did a show called Mamdani, Tucker, and Fuentes. Well, Tucker's not in office. Fuentes isn't in office. No, he's talking about, and this is, I think, responsible for a lot of the urgency that he's talking about. People like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes are somehow got traction. Somehow these crazy people. Tucker Carlson is insane, and Nick Fuentes is an insane racist, and not just a racist. He's horrible in every way that a person can be horrible. I think he may be the only person on the scene who's got any traction. Worse than Matt Walsh. He's that bad. And Yaron is rightly concerned that they have a following. They have fans. Millions of people are listening to what these people are saying. So I get it. I get that sense of urgency. But then, the next morning, Afterglow, Harry Binswanger at hbletter.com, the Harry Binswanger letter, including his meeting of the minds that he does on Sunday mornings. Good substitute for church if you're not into the whole religion thing. For example, me. Harry Binswanger had the meeting of the minds, a special guest, Shona Cameron, who has studied nonviolent communication. Now, that title is a little confusing. So she, on her website, the link is in the show notes, describes herself as empowering authentic communication. So this speaker, Shona Cameron, on the Meeting of the Minds on Harry Binswanger's monthly get-together, spoke about empathy. So I went from Yaron Brook talking about get off your ass and show some balls to understanding empathy and its selfish value, its personal value to you. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And most of you will know what empathy is, that ability to be present with somebody and
often
and know what they are experiencing, at least to some degree, to let yourself be with them. And she really focused on that aspect of it.
Giving psychological visibility to somebody.
Right. And not the feeling that you feel bad because they feel bad, because that's sympathy. And sympathy is great too, but no, empathy is being there with the person and letting them express what they're feeling. And yes, you being able to feel in some sense what they're feeling. Although she did say, don't ever say, oh yeah, I feel exactly what you feel, because their natural reaction will be, well, no, you don't feel exactly what I feel. You're not going through what I'm going through, or your version will be different than mine. Be a little careful with stuff like that. But I immediately thought of one of my favorite videos on the internet. And we've recommended this one before. Hopefully some of you have seen it. It goes under the title, It's Not About the Nail.
Yeah, it's not about the nail.
I love that video. And
it's a good video.
And if you don't know, it's a video that plays on the fact, and it's a stereotype, but there's truth to it, that when men and women get together to talk, and especially if a woman is going through a challenging time or facing a problem or is just upset about something that's happened, it will sometimes happen that she will want to talk about it. She will want to, gentlemen, tell you about her day or what she's feeling, what she's going through, what she's experiencing. And that's fine. That's cool. We all do that. But men listening to women, again, not you, none of you would make this mistake, but the stereotypical guy will listen and immediately start thinking of solutions. And will be ready to interrupt at the first pause with, well, you know, what you should do, what you could do, what you might do. I think what needs to happen here when what the woman was looking for was simply to connect with somebody over what she was going through.
She just needed an ear to bend.
Right.
And now I should say this, just to be fair, there are some women who will also want to dive in and say, let me save your day.
I make the point that it's a stereotype because you can reverse those genders depending on the individual, depending on their temperament.
Yeah. And it's best to, ask them, what do you need from me? Yeah. Do you need an ear to bend, or do you need solutions right now?
Yeah. Certain Enric says, oh, yeah, that's a funny video. Yeah, it is a very funny video. I don't want to tell you too much what it's about because you don't want to spoil it. And it's not spoiling the ending. It's spoiling the beginning, which is enormously clever. And it's so well done. And although it's making a point, it does so in a way that is empathetic to both sides of this, call it a conflict. It's very charming. It's very funny. And link is in the show notes in the YouTube description if you've never seen it before. Or if you have seen it before, but you, like me, would be amused by watching it again. Life, and I thought of this, I think I put it in the comments during the discussion they were having, life is not merely a series of problem-solving exercises.
Yeah.
Life includes problems, and you've got to solve problems. We've got to get through stuff. But the point is that you don't spend time with people just to show off your problem-solving prowess.
Yeah.
And here's another surprise for some of the younger folks out there, and some of the older folks too. We all are vulnerable to making this mistake. The point of a conversation is not so that you get to say things. And so during the course of a conversation, the whole point is waiting for your next chance to talk. I know people, and I don't know, maybe I did this when I was younger, but I'm very conscious of it. And you notice these long pauses. I try not to be vulnerable to it. I know people who don't pause when they're talking. And if they don't have anything to say, they'll stick in those verbal tics, the so that there aren't any pauses in their speaking. And I've seen this where it's just obvious they don't want to pause because they don't want the other person to start talking.
That's right.
And if you don't, if you leave those empty spaces there, they'll cut you off and you'll lose your train of thought and you'll have to stop talking and listen to them. And I totally get that, because losing your train of thought is a very real thing. And if you're saying something important and somebody cuts you off and then you can't remember that important thing you wanted to say, okay, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's the phrase I use for that is soapboxing.
Soapboxing.
Yeah. You're up on a soapbox. You're not going to get off. You're going to listen to every goddamn word I have to say, Pop. See, wedding singer reference.
Yeah.
That's a practice that we've banned in our glow meetings for a long, long time. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
And
Jennifer refers to mansplaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me explain that to you. I mean, you're a woman, so I get it, but let me explain. Yeah, that'll work real well. And yet people do that kind of thing. I will never understand that kind of thinking.
Yeah. Can I go into my anecdote with regard to my ex-coworker who is on Facebook and her comment to me?
Sure. Please.
I had I shared Bonnie's post, by the way, about Mamdani. And Bonnie says, this is what young people are celebrating today. Unfortunately, she's worried about their inability to think. And what happened to your life belongs to you, and the good is to live it. Instead, this is your life, your effort belongs to everyone, and soon there won't be any. So I had a former coworker who I'm still Facebook friends with. And I know that, she is of the kind of socialist persuasion. I've known this about a long time. Still Facebook friends with her. And she's very nice. And by the way, I got to say, she was an excellent worker. And we were very sad to lose her because she did a fantastic job. And anyway, so she says, unpopular opinion here. I think the phrase, your life, your effort belongs to everyone. It is not an insult or a terrible way to live, but a beautiful re-expression of Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail, quote, all men are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny, unquote. Also, side note, I find it incredibly insulting for the original post to imply that more than 1 million voters who make a political choice that the original poster does not agree with has an inability to think. So anyway, and then she says, everyone is free to disagree or disagree, but I will assume whichever you pick, you all do so with some thought, because that's my high opinion of my fellow humans. Now, there's a lot that I disagree with in here, but I was happy to see that at least she was trying to be inspirational.
Well, and it's not like some wildly crazy idea.
Yeah.
That you have to be a radical communist to believe. This goes back, centuries. This goes back to Jean-Jacques Rousseau and his social contract, and the idea that, you're born in a society in which you're getting all these benefits, and you're a part of that too. So when you get old enough, you're going to help provide those benefits. And yeah, if you're pro-capitalist, if you're an objectivist, you're like, that's horrible. Yeah. But if you're just an average, normal, decent human being who hasn't reached the same conclusions we have, at least not yet.
Yeah.
No, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So and I mean, I should say in daily life, she's a reasonable person, and and I wasn't going to get into an argument with her on Facebook. I just decided against it. So I wrote back, and mark my words here, I said, your civility and graciousness is a credit to you. I may have more to say later, but thanks for keeping it above the fray. And then she replied, I appreciate you, smiley face. And there you are. And that's probably the end of this back and forth. But, she was giving her honest understanding of what is going on within a civil society, and that it's a beautiful thing that people come together and work together. And so she doesn't necessarily have that perspective of individualism, and why it's very important to have that individualist perspective. in terms of how individuals deal with one another. She was civil, and she was also semi-inspirational. So I have to hand it to her. Yeah, and I did. And she appreciated it. I don't know, she might actually look at my wall later on where I'm actually posting other arguments against socialism. And I don't know, who knows? But yeah, that's how I decided to handle that. And you can too. You can decide not to, enter the fray, kicking and screaming and swinging.
Well, if you want to kick and scream or lecture,
yeah,
let me know how that works out for you.
Yeah.
I'm loving the fact that we've got Mark Thomas in the chat saying, I don't keep such people in my social circles, too dangerous. And then he says, well, it's still wrong, and we have the tools to disprove it. I had a conversation when we were in London about that. It's an interesting thing that happens. Some of us discover, for example, Ayn Rand's ideas, and we become objectivists. No, we don't. What happens is we discover Ayn Rand's ideas. We find them intriguing, compelling. If you started with her fiction, you just find it inspirational. And then you start realizing you agree with certain things. And eventually you find the nonfiction and you study and you're like, well, no, this isn't just good. This is actually true. And I need to work really hard at this. And maybe a year later, 2 years, 5 years later, you reach the point of saying, I am in full agreement with this. And I guess that makes me an objectivist. I call myself an objectivist now. And what's interesting is it takes volumes. It takes the novels, or it takes the nonfiction, or for some of us, it takes a combination. And even people besides Ayn Rand, like Leonard Peikoff or Harry Binswanger or whoever else you read, to help reinforce that, and spending times in get-togethers with objectivist groups or friends of yours who you talk philosophy with. And eventually, after months or years of firsthand thinking of you yourself in your own mind, processing it all and putting it all together, oh, yeah, I agree. I'm an objectivist. Hell, I go out and fight for these ideas and teach these ideas. But then we have a conversation with a friend of ours, or we meet somebody in a club or in a bar. We spend an hour or two, or maybe several hours or 2 hours over different days, sharing with them this amazing wisdom that we have, and they don't get it. They don't just not get it, they disagree. And we're appalled. How dare you, after 2 hours of my brilliant presentation, my amazing arguments that are unbreakable, unbreachable, how dare you not get it? How dare you not just admit that you're wrong and I'm right? Even though, it took me months, it took me years to firsthand finally absorb and understand and accept these ideas. How dare you, after 2 hours spent in the presence of me, still claim that you're right and I'm wrong? Clearly, evader on the death premise.
Death premise.
I'm having a little bit of fun with this, and I hope nobody takes me to be unkind in this regard. But I hope that the point is obvious that none of us were convinced, probably of anything in our lives by a single argument or even a conversation. No, what you want is not to get people to admit that they were wrong, they were evil, they were terrible, and they should agree with you instead. What you want is just to plant those seeds, to get people thinking firsthand themselves over the course of time. And that may be days, weeks, months, years. You may never see the fruits of those changes, but what I want to hear from y'all out there is, tell me a time with a counterexample. Tell me a time when you explained, for example, Ayn Rand's philosophy to somebody and they said, oh, I get that. Everything that I've believed that contradicts that, I've been wrong about all of my life, and I see now the error of my mistake.
I see now the error of my mistake.
Oh, Buffy the Vampire Slayer reference for some of you folks. That's just not what happens. And here's the thing. That's not actually what one should want to happen. Because it's not realistic. It's not reality-based. That's not how minds are changed. That's not how consciousness works. That's not consistent with the objectivist epistemology. I mean, it would be nice if people could at least acknowledge, oh, there seems to be some logic to what you say. Obviously, it contradicts everything I already know to be true, so I'm going to need some time to think about it. That would be nice. That would be a good outcome. But even that is not consistent with the way consciousness works. It's very rare that you're going to find somebody respond that way. If you have any luck with that, let me know if you see that happen. I'm not saying accept other people's wrong ideas or be a subjectivist or don't fight.
Right. Or don't let them abuse you.
No, do what you can, but don't do more than you can, and don't assume that if people don't get it, there's something wrong with them or something evasive or evil about them. Because that's just not the way it is. Yeah,
as Ayn Rand put it, most people are mixed in their premises. And so, yeah, it's not something you can oftentimes what I say is you can lead by example. And you can put out the positive case for what you see is who is doing the right thing. I think that actually is a lot more effective than you've got to think of it in terms of, a lot of people they grow up with religion. They grow up with that kind of intrinsicism, that the commandments, thou shalt not, but don't do that. Oh, no. You're wrong. And heck, actually taking a step with religion, if you're wrong, you will go to HE double hockey sticks. And this is the kind of the emotional context that a lot of people have with regard to ethics and politics. And that a lot of people see that as something to consider other people as evil, or denounce an entire swath of people or entire group of people or whatever it may be, political party, whatever that is, as evil. And that is not how that works.
Right. It can happen, but generally that's you can't tell somebody you're wrong about everything and have them say, oh, okay, I see now that I was wrong about not just the thing, but everything, because that's what philosophy is. It connects everything. In the chat, we do have a counterexample. Tom Harrison says, on an old Yaron Brook lecture, one of the students said, after 2 hours, the following: I came here to watch you get crushed. But after 2 hours of merciless logic, I see you are right. Well, it can happen. And again, we know that. No, it can happen. But the point is, it's rare. And it's not rare because most people are evasive. It's rare because it's hard. It's rare because a context of knowledge is a context of knowledge. And if you can explain to somebody that one thing that they believe is wrong, but it's connected to 25 other things that they have had all their life reason to believe are right, it's going to take work. It's going to take time. Steve-O says, I explained Ayn Rand to someone at the hotel where the Irreplaceable Spark Conference was happening. He said, we needed a God to explain the creation of people. If nature can't create an iPad, it can't create a man. The irony there is you're right. That's one of the cases where you're not going to come up with a zinger that's going to make him say, oh, okay, I see now, and I guess God doesn't exist. But there are zingers. Yeah, one of the obvious examples is you are taking complexity as something that needs to be explained. But this God that you postulate then would have to have a level of complexity capable of creating the level of complexity that is man. Therefore, just like the first cause argument, you need an explanation for God's complexity. If you don't believe that evolution of both living things and simply the nature of matter out there, that things change over the course of time and that they can become complex, contrary to the second law of thermodynamics, which can be beaten simply by an infusion of energy, say, from a star like on Earth. If you can't explain complexity just by that, then you also can't explain the complexity of God. And people want to say, well, God doesn't need an explanation. He's the first cause. There's no reason to say then that complexity in nature needs a first cause other than simply physical processes and ultimately consciousness. You can't say complexity has to be explained, but then say, well, there's one complexity that doesn't have to be explained, and that's the one that I'm going to uphold or believe in. Nature, on the other hand, existence, that which exists, does have one virtue over God as an explanation, and that is that what exists actually exists. So there you go with that. Now, is your friend at the hotel, the person at the hotel, going to then say, oh, I get it. So complexity doesn't need to be explained by an even more complex being, which would then need I see now there's an infinite regress problem there. It's turtles all the way down. I don't believe in God. No, you could give him that argument and it might plant that seed and he would think it through, and then he would see how that also applies to first cause arguments, to ontological arguments, to most of St. Anselm, to just about every other argument for the supernatural. But the best you could do then would be to plant that seed. I don't think you're going to get, like in the Tom Harrison case with Yaron Brook, somebody saying, oh, I was going to argue with you, but I see that you're right. Because there's too many other things going on up here in this guy's mind that connect to that argument that then need to be rethought and reconsidered before he says, oh, maybe I was wrong about the whole thing. And that's okay. That's how it should be. That's how you want it to be. It shouldn't be that easy for somebody to destroy somebody else's whole context of knowledge. That would actually be a bad thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Robert, you're so funny. Yeah, no, that would be, that would not be realistic, and it wouldn't be practical.
So on Wednesday morning,
a
Facebook friend, which is different than a real friend, although maybe this person could be a real friend, wrote this. Brilliant speech by Mamdani. Reagan-esque. This is the acceptance speech he gave on being elected mayor. Reagan-esque, positive, inclusive, hopeful, cheerful. So refreshing compared to Mr. American Carnage. One can disagree with his policies, but without dread and fear in one's stomach. To which I could only respond, and this is how I commented on her post. Although I disagree with this post, I appreciate it enormously, and I wish more people who are rightly critical of the incoming mayor could understand why he won. And I wrote a bit more, and I went on a bit of a rant. And those of you who know me will wonder, Robert goes on rants, and here's what I wrote. It's very short. I am sick to death of my pro-capitalism, anti-socialism allies' simplistic, venomous, childish misunderstanding of their adversaries and their miserable, malevolent sense of life. Thanks for your post. Now, those of you who I regard as my kindred spirits, my allies out there, I hope you appreciate that I'm not talking about you. I am talking about, again, the simplistic and venomous and childish misunderstanding of our allies, of people like this charming gal, who I believe was also an objectivist, or maybe she used to be, who wrote brilliant speech by Mamdani, Reagan-esque, positive, inclusive, hopeful, cheerful, so refreshing. As I said in my comment, I disagree with her. I disagree with her analysis of Mamdani, but she's able to listen to what the guy says without being triggered, without immediately going to her objections and to say, well, gave a good speech. And I can hear people out, no, I can't hear them out here. People who listen to this show wouldn't do this, but I can hear some of my other objectivist friends out there saying, what do you mean he gave a good speech? He's a socialist. He's going to destroy the city. He's on and on and on and on. And I'm like, you're right. And I've made that point, and I'm going to fight the guy, and I'm going to say what's got to be said about it. But in the full context, if you want to understand, no, not crazy democratic socialist allies of his, not the crazies out there, but just normal people. You know, we talked about last night Ayn Rand's essay, The Goal of My Writing, and as I was studying for that talk, I realized there's a common denominator between Ayn Rand. Incidentally, if you don't know, the goal of Ayn Rand's writing is the portrayal of an ideal man. And she makes the point in the essay, she's not trying to teach. This is not didactic. It's not for the purpose of teaching or changing the world or anything else. Those things are all in there. But her purpose, her goal, the reason she does it is simply the portrayal of an ideal man. And the time that we as readers can spend contemplating life in that world. Yes. Of what is possible, what is open to man, and what kind of experiences and events are worth experiencing for their own sake.
Yes, she says, my basic test for any story is, would I want to meet these characters and observe these events in real life? Is this story an experience worth living through for its own sake? Is the pleasure of contemplating these characters an end in itself? Yes, life is in itself, so is the experience of enjoying good literature.
Yes. So I'm reading this, and I'm listening to James Valiant's previous discussion of it on the Ayn Rand Center UK. And a phrase pops into my head, and this is what I want to share with you tonight. Now, Ayn Rand has said on more than one occasion, he who fights for the future lives in it today. He who fights for the future lives in it today. This is the moral psychology of the ideal man. When you fight for the future, what are you doing? You're living the values that you want to see in the future. If you're fighting for honesty, you are being honest. If you are fighting for freedom, you are living free. If you are fighting for moral ideals, you are practicing those moral ideals. And more than that, you are curating your experiences. You know, in the hippy-dippy times, we used to say, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, by the way, that was a paraphrase of Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah.
Well, why does that resonate with certain people, including me? Mm-hmm. Why does that work? And the answer is, when you want to see better people, you get to see better people by being a better person and looking in the mirror, or by working with the better kind of people who are fighting for the better kind of people. Be the change you want to be the change you want to see in the world means making your life more what you think things should be, what you want life to be. Now, I know right away there are people who would object, but I don't just want to change. I want everybody else to change. I don't just want to act like I'm free. I want there to be more freedom. I totally get that. And that's why you fight. But when you fight, you experience, at least personally and with your allies and in your behaviors and in the values you actually bring into your life and the virtues that you actually practice, that world. And the same thing is true in just about every area of life. We went to Greenfield Village today.
Yes, we did.
In the snow.
In the snow.
Okay, there wasn't any snow on the ground. It didn't stick, but there was a lot of snow. And it was falling.
Coming down. We didn't have an umbrella. We didn't think, we were like, oh, it's snow. Well, it's kind of like icy snow. But it was beautiful snow. It was really lovely snow.
I liked getting the snow in my hair and my face, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's cold, but, it's November. And we stopped at the hat shop.
Yes.
The millinery. And I forget how it came. Oh, there was a hat that it was this charming and kind of, they make hats there, and some of them look like the kinds of things you would wear to a fancy dress ball, and some of them look like things you would wear in a parade. And this hat looked like something that a highly educated woman would wear to a very classy event.
Yeah.
Or like you might wear to university. I forget how the topic of Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, I mentioned it. And she said, I said something like, Yes, a woman in the 1880s, one of the few women who would go to university and actually get a degree at a university. That's the kind of hat you would wear. And I think I may have mentioned Anne of Green Gables, and then we got talking about Anne of Green Gables, and it was really lovely. And recommending the movie from 1985, the made-for-TV movie with Megan Follows.
Right.
And yeah.
So there's a quote from Anne of Green Gables I've mentioned before by Lucy Maud Montgomery, Ella Montgomery, where Anne says, kindred spirits are not so scarce as I used to think. It's splendid to find out there are so many of them in the world. I've always loved that quote, and I remembered seeing it in the Kevin Sullivan version of the movies that he made. But it actually happened after Anne wins over Miss Barry.
Yes.
So it turns out that kindred spirits are often found not as kindred spirits. You don't realize at first that somebody is a kindred spirit, is a decent person, is somebody who could be of value in your life. It might be somebody who you think is going to be an opponent, somebody who is going to be working against you. For example, isolating her daughter from being your friend. So if you don't see a world full of people who have accepted all of the values, all of the ideals that you have, and so you think, well, I've got to work against that. I've got to teach them or convince them, or the ones I can't convince, I've got to write them off as enemies and make sure I avoid them. Think of Anne. Think of Miss Barry. She says, Miss Barry was a kindred spirit after all. You wouldn't think so to look at her, but she is. Kindred spirits are not so scarce as I used to think. It's splendid to find out that there are so many of them in the world. Now that sounds woo. That's a little girl in a movie making a point that, we can all kind of chuckle at and say, oh yeah, she didn't really run into all the evils in the world and how disappointing people can be. But A, it's 110% true. And B, it's rational. It's reality-based. I tell some of my detractors, don't tell me you're rational. Don't tell me you're reality-based, but you're a pessimist. Because most of reality, most of what most people do is not a cause for pessimism. Go into a grocery store, go into an art gallery, go to a sporting event, go to a museum, go to any place other than a few of the worst places in the world. 99% of what people do is value creation and value enjoyment. And I thought of it earlier today, like Pascal's wager. That's this idea that you should believe in God because either you believe or you don't. And either there's a God or there's not. And then he figured out the 4 possibilities. And I don't agree with Pascal's wager, but that idea of setting up the 4 quadrants, well, you can assume the worst in life and of people, or you can assume the best, be a pessimist or an optimist. And it can turn out that the best of things happen or the worst of things happen. In other words, that you are right or you are wrong. And if you assume the worst, if you always assume in any given context, people are going to let you down. People are going to be irrational. People are going to be evaders. You usually turn out to be wrong. And that's no comfort because you just spent all of your time assuming the worst. And if you're right, you assume the worst about people and yeah, they let me down. The only thing you get out of that is, oh, I didn't get surprised and disappointed. I didn't get my hopes crushed. That ain't worth much. And your worst beliefs are just reinforced. Mm. If you assume the worst all the time and you're wrong, oh, then you're pleasantly surprised. Except you spent all of your time beforehand, and you will spend all of your time in the future expecting the worst out of people. And those little surprises when people aren't as terrible as you hoped or thought they would be, it's not really worth much if you spend all of your time miserably expecting the worst out of everybody. Now, if you assume the best out of people, if you assume that things will go right, you'll usually be right. You can still be delighted. It's not like, yeah, I'm not that impressed because I expected it. No, you can still be delighted not by your expectations, but by the simple fact of people being good. Your barista making a good coffee. The docent at the art museum doing a good job showing you the wonderful things that are there. Your favorite sports team succeeding, or if not succeeding, at least showing sportsmanship. All of the good things in the world. You go to the grocery store and they have your favorite things. Or they don't, but they have other things for you to discover. Life is full of these experiences. Oh, and the last of the four possibilities, you assume the best, but you're wrong. Well, you will be disappointed. But you will also realize, well, that was just one disappointment. And you can be eager for that next positive outcome. This is true of most of the people out there. You know, Amy's friends at work, my friends who may turn out to be left-leaning. Calling them socialists is an exaggeration, but you get what I mean. 99%, or maybe just 90% of what they do is good things that foster values, that make their lives better, that make my life better, make your life better. Kindred spirits go far beyond just people who agree with you entirely philosophically. And, you know, some of them may turn out to be people who will eventually agree with you philosophically. But the rest of them are just good people. Now, there are some rotten people out there. As a percentage, I have no idea what that would be, 1%, 3%. If you spend all of your time watching the news or focusing on politics, it's going to seem like a lot more than a couple percent are just rotten people out there.
Yeah.
But most people aren't. And if you're spending your time, and I'll wrap with this, we're running late, and I know, Amy, you'll have more to say.
Yeah.
But if you're spending your time focused on rotten people or rotten events or reasons to be pessimistic about the future, I'm not going to say don't do that because it'll make you unhappy. I'm going to say don't do that because it's not rational. It's not reality-based. And if you fancy yourself being a rational person, that ain't rational. That's not reality.
Especially if you are, and I'll take it from here, Robert, if you don't mind. Especially if you're thinking of it in collectivistic terms. Anytime I think of people, this person's a socialist, that person's a whatever, blah, 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 or we hear other people complain about other people, I ask myself, what does this person individually think? And there has to be an approach here that kind of what Robert was, you were talking about, what Harry Binswanger was talking about, and providing some kind of psychological visibility or empathy. And that falls into my category of spreading objectivism by complimenting other people and showing them what they're doing is virtuous and why and how. And talking about ethics with them in a positive and inspirational way. That falls in line with that. I mean, in terms of, we've talked about the 97% versus 3% rule. 3% fight, the evil. 97% live your life, pursue your values, discover your dreams, make them real. And now at this point, politically and morally, I think you might want to up that 3% to something a little bit higher. You might consider doing that and find a way how to do that. So, when Yaron Brook says, we've got to fight, we have to do more, we need to get more ideas out there. Well, you've got to ask yourself gently, what can I do? What can I do to do this in a rational way that's going to not be a sacrifice to me? You've got to start with that. You have to ask yourself, I'm not just going to do what somebody tells me to do, blindly, unthinkingly. Of course, Yaron wouldn't want anybody to do that, or any good objectivist. But you're going to have to ask yourself, what can I do to make that happen? This is something I've been thinking about and mulling over in my mind for a while. Is I need to start writing letters to people, politicians, People, in the news media or whoever it may be, actually writing letters to them, maybe even handwritten letters to them to show them that I am an individual, I'm a real person, and I have ideas that might be able to help them. And even if I vehemently disagree with them or find that their ideas are anathemable to life, to human life, even if it runs that deep, I'm going, the only way I can really communicate to them is on an individual level. And you can't do that by starting out with, "You're evil. Now listen to what I have to tell you so you can stop being evil."
Sorry, there's some great examples in the chat. Tom says, like in elementary school, when you would fight a kid and then later become best friends, kindred spirits. And Dan says, DW Logic says, I never understood objectivists that were so focused on politics. I studied Ayn Rand and objectivism for 4 years before I even dealt with the area of politics. Mm-hmm. See, this is what philosophy is for, is living your own best life. Politics is part of that. It matters. Yeah. Hell, we've stood out in the streets with protest signs against both the left and the right, incidentally, more the left than the right, which I always tell my Trump fan friends that, we did more to fight the left than we ever did to fight the right. I'm not getting into the politics side of it, but to make the point that, there's a time and a place to engage in politics. And that's why I say I'm not disagreeing with Yaron Brook. It was just interesting to hear him become a bit fire-breathing over the issue more so than he usually does. And you're right, 97.3 has always been my rule of thumb for how much time do you spend engaging with your values versus fighting disvalues. Absolutely. There's more in the chat there. And, very cool. Yeah.
So now I promised you all earlier on that I would talk about a spiritual experience that I had in California. And I'll just give a little bit of a history about myself. I dropped from the sky. I didn't grow up with anybody. No, I'm kidding. I feel like that sometimes because I only grew up with my mom and my half brother. That's the only two family members I had. I had a grandmother who lived in California, but there are reasons why, even when I was very young, she wasn't a value to me. And gosh, where do I start? I had two goals other than going to the Irreplaceable Spark Conference. That was all kind of like gravy for me, going to this conference and seeing Leonard Peikoff. That was just gravy. The main course for me was going to see the gravesite of my grandfather, my mother's father. My mother had an extremely tumultuous life, especially early on. She had to run away because her mother's boyfriend was being too touchy with her, if you know what I mean. And she basically was on her own at the age of 15 on. And but she grew up in California, I think probably around Fresno. Anyway, when I was 4 years old, it was me and my brother. We went to California to do two things: meet our grandmother and I wanted to meet Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. So all four of us went to Disneyland, and I have memories at the age of 4 of going to Disneyland and seeing things. And I'll just say in brief, it was very sad. My mom died 14 years ago. She was only 65 years old. It was very horrible, horrifyingly sad. And it's been, I'm still processing it. Yes, 14 years later, it's still there. And I got to go to Disneyland in California and see where my mom grew up and see where she, I don't know, it was like going back and visiting her. And I got to introduce my grandfather, who is in this, who is actually buried or interned. His his remains are interred at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And I got to look at his plaque way like 20 feet high above, 15 feet high, and introduce him to his daughter, my mom, and introduce him to myself. And yeah, so it was an extremely spiritual experience for me, one that rekindled more happy memories of my mom and my upbringing, and I got to fulfill a promise that I made to my mom before she died, which was I will find her dad's gravesite. Now, I won't get into how that all happened. That's a long, long story. We're kind of running out of time. But I just want to say that I had a very spiritual experience reliving where my mom used to be, where she took us when we were children, and going to a place that's Disneyland, where I actually remembered so many things while I was there. And I had to stop many times and just cry because it was so important for me. So that is an example of a spiritual value. And I'm so happy that I was able to go there and experience all of that, and in a very positive way. And by the way, special thanks to Audrey, who's usually in the chat. I don't see her there, but special thanks to Audrey, who went with us to Disneyland and experienced all this with me. I did warn her before that this was going to happen. So, but I was really lovely to meet her and so many people. Leanne, I talked with her quite a lot, and meeting old friends like Chandler and Enric, meeting new people like Jason and Steven. And anyway, it was really, really, really wonderful to have that trip to California. And I just wanted to give some people some context personally about what else was going on with why we were going there. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my point in all of this is not to say, well, be less like Yaron was talking yesterday and more like Harry was talking today. It's a false alternative. Obviously, you should be living your passions. And if one of your passions is ideas, you should be sharing ideas. You should be expressing ideas. But ideas are tools, not weapons.
Yes.
Philosophy is for living your own best life. And relationships between you and your peers, your friends, your coworkers are part of that. And more widely, politics is part of that. And I'm never going to say, and if you've seen my photographs online, it would be ridiculous for me to say that you shouldn't engage in politics. We have gone to rallies, we have given speeches, we have traveled to D.C. and Chicago and Boston and other places where we have engaged in public protests and made our point to the world. And we're not done yet. We will be doing more of that. We attended the first No Kings rally this year, so it's not all about fighting the left.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't do politics, but don't be politics. Don't let politics taint your experiences in life with other people, even people who don't completely match your philosophy. Don't be that unselfish. No sacrifices.
That's
No.
right.
You are here on this planet to take this life you've got and do with it what you want, to get the most you can out of it. And you don't have any duty to be value-oriented. You don't have any duty to be joyous or happy. But why not?
Life is an end in itself, after all.
Yes. So I think I said probably 25% of what I prepared notes for tonight. But I think I said what I wanted to say. I hope you all have enjoyed the conversation. I especially appreciate y'all in the chat who have been giving us your insights and feedback. And as always, very much appreciated. This has been 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, and this might not be our record-breaking length of show. It doesn't seem that long now that Dan Norton is doing. He broke his own record. He did an over 9-hour show a couple days ago. But this is still pretty damn long for us. It is.
Well, we have to make up a little bit since we weren't here last week. I mean,
it is 5 minutes times 18 this time around. So you got your money's worth. But I said we're free, and we are free, and the show is free. If you don't want this show to be free, if you want it to keep happening, if you want to support what we do, go to robertnasir.com, scroll to the very bottom, and you'll find a link to our Patreon. Or just go to patreon.com/robertnasir and join those of you wonderful people who already support the show, who make a monthly contribution of a couple dollars, ranging up to, I think, $50. Whatever it is, all appreciated. You give us the inspiration to keep doing what we do.
Yeah, and earlier somebody asked, why don't we have a super chat now?
Why don't we have super chat? It turns out we did break the minimum of 500 subscribers recently.
Yes.
Now we just need to get our view counts up. So our watch hours have not quite hit I forget what it is, per year or per 6 months, 3,000 hours. So we got to get our numbers up. We've got to get that up about 30% over the watch 30%. Hours that we're at. And there are two ways that can happen. One of them I'm working on, which is creating more shorts, which bring people to the channel who then watch one or two or several of the long form videos. The other way that goes up is if you share the show or just watch more of our older episodes. But share the show. Get more people to watch the show. Once we get to averaging 3,000 hours over the course of 12 months or 6 months, I'll look up which one that is. But once we get our view counts up 30%, then there will be super chats.
Yeah.
But if you are disappointed that there's not a super chat option, that you can't post a chat message with a dollar figure associated with it, go to patreon.com/ or there's a PayPal link to it, robertnasir.com. We've had folks occasionally will do a one-time contribution, a tip, which is greatly appreciated. And you can do that. Again, very bottom of the page at robertnasir.com.
Yes.
And if that's not in the budget, I just want to thank you for watching, for listening. Hopefully you subscribed to the channel, you have liked the show, and you have shared it with somebody. And that's it. I think all that's left. All that is left is for me to promise more to come, because we're getting into the heart of darkness. No, the heart of lightness, the heart of the holidays. We didn't talk too much about Thanksgiving or gratitude, although we did say we had great turkey last night. It's coming up next week, the week after that. Don't think we'll be missing any shows for the holidays, although we have a very busy schedule. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to celebrating Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to talking gratitude and presence, but also staying connected with current events, because that stuff does matter, and I know people have thoughts about it that they want to share too. It's going to be good. It's going to be good for the holidays. It's going to be good for Thanksgiving. Going to be good for Christmas. And it was good tonight. Folks, thank you for joining us. We missed seeing you last week, being under the weather and all of that, but we are back. We're back strong, I hope. Amy, are you strong?
I am.
I am strong too. And so all that is left is for us to wish you, the listener, will do the kind of rude finger pointing thing, which I like to do in honor of the late, great Bob Carvinen. Good friend of ours who liked the finger pointing thing.
You know who I thought of today was Dave Feller.
Dave Feller, what a great guy.
He's objective. Both Bob Carvinen and Dave Feller, they were like two peas kind of in an opposite pod. But they were funny together.
They were very alike and very opposite.
Yes.
And they were both objectivists.
Yes.
Hardcore.
And both, passed away long ago, but we remember them and we honor their memory.
Forever in our hearts.
And we bring them back to reality in our memories and thoughts. And when I was thinking about we have a bay window in our house, and Dave actually helped repair that with you.
That's true. That's true.
So anytime I think of the bay window, I'm like, Dave Feller, and I thought of him today, and I'm like, I'm keeping your memory alive.
Yeah, the city we're in had infestations of carpenter ants. And a lot of places, properties had to be repaired. Well, we almost lost our bay window to them.
Yeah.
But this guy who he worked for the city that he lived in, but he was, in his spare time, he was an architect and carpentry. And
Yes.
yeah, he helped me rebuild the supports for that window and put plenty of chemicals in there to keep any ants from ever giving us any trouble.
Yes. Yes.
And it was a good thing. Dave Feller was a good guy. Bob Carvenden was a good guy.
Oh, gosh.
I've been talking about how there are good people out there who are not objectivists. Man, there are good people out there who are objectivists.
Yes. Make them part of your life.
Yes. And as I say, that's why our thanks goes out to you. We wish you all of the success that you so richly deserve, all of the happiness, all of the values, all of the pleasure, all of the stuff despite the news of the day, and even the presence of mind to take in the news of the day, to decide what you want to say about it. Get out there and say it, Yaron would say, and I say too. And because you do that, and because we know you are out there living your own best damn life, we say thank you. And, as always, we wish you love.